Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are doing a walkthrough commentary kind of thing of a woods ball game on the Tent City field at Paintball Depot in Belvidere, New Jersey. This was a pump-only game in the monthly M. Carter Brown pump games at Paintball Depot. Check out mcarterbrown.com if you're in the neighborhood and interested in joining us. This game was a 4-on-5, although I do not remember which team had the 5. The initial part of this game involved a shootout with an opposing player in the tent just up the right tape line from my position, basically in my mirror. Now, the player that's opposing me up the field is one of the best players I play with and against regularly. So right away, I'm thinking I don't want to get stuck in a snap shooting battle here because there's a pretty good chance I'll lose it. So I need to be thinking about doing something else. One other thing to point out about this game is that there is another opponent up the field and to my left, further back than the person directly in front of me. I do spend some time trying to get that person out. I end up bouncing them about 4 times, so I'm not going to show any of that stuff, but I do periodically peek out the left and take a few shots to make sure no one's moving up in that direction. But it turns out that my teammates on the left had that side covered, so I was able to focus on the right. In situations like this, one thing I'll commonly do is drop back a little bit in a planned way to try to draw my opponent towards me to make it easier to eliminate them. The idea here is that between these two tents, there isn't that much cover. So if I can get my opponent to move into the woods out to the right a little bit while I'm still behind the tent, I'll be in a pretty decent position. You could actually hear him in this part of the game, if you listen closely, say that I dropped back. So now I'm trying to induce him to move up, but that ultimately didn't work and he stays safely behind that tent. So the plan here is I'm going to get him to put his head down because I can whiz a shot past him. He'll get his head down. That will allow me to bump up the right tape line a little bit. There are a couple big trees there that I can use, and then next time he pops out, I'll have a wider angle on him and I'll be closer, and because I put his head down before I moved, he won't know I'm there. So here's how this plays out. We're going to take the shot, we're going to get the head down, he looks away, we bump up to this tree, which leaves me a little exposed on the left, but I can post up on the tent. He pops out, not knowing I moved, and you gotta land that first shot to get him. Now I look to the left, the player I bounced had been eliminated around that same time, so I'm free to move up to this tent. And from here I'm in a very good position because I'm very close to the back right corner of the map from where I started. So we're going to move up a little bit further and engage an opponent that is essentially at the back center, very close to the opposing starting point in that middle tent. Now this is a pretty straightforward engagement. I'm going to follow a pretty standard series of steps to try to take out this opponent right in front of me. The first thing I have to do, the first thing I always have to do, is move up on them and engage them at close range. So just like before, we're going to take a shot just to put their head down and then move up while they're not looking. From here, I'm now closer, but I still don't have a good shot because that tent is really great cover. But if I can determine that they're not looking at me, I can bump again, and that's exactly what I do to get up to this next larger tree. Now, very importantly here, I see them go out to the back of the tent, and that calls for decisive action because that means they're not looking at me. So I come up behind, get the barrel tag. Now that only worked specifically because of how that tent is oriented. I knew that if I broke out to the right and got behind the solid wall of the tent, even if he looked back through the flaps after just a couple of seconds, he wouldn't see me. So that was an example of very specifically playing the contours of the field to use indirect cover to cover a move. Now, I'm signaling to my friendly player that I'm back here. He's signaling that there is one opponent left, and that person is essentially where we started the game. Now, I went up the right side of the field, and because my remaining teammate is keeping this last opponent busy, I'm going to go down the opposite side of the field, the left side from where we started, through this somewhat concealed path in the woods. That's going to allow me to come up behind that last opposing player and eliminate them. So in total, over the course of this whole game, I will have done essentially a lap of this entire field, up the right side, across the back, and then down the left. While I'm doing this, my teammate is making plenty of noise and keeping the opponent's head down, so I am able to move up without them looking over their shoulder and score the barrel tag to end the game.
Good job, sir.
Thanks for watching, everybody. See you soon.
Good job.